Managing villagers along with their wants and needs is one of the most challenging systems to master in Medieval Dynasty, and I thought it'd be useful condensing everything you need to know, whether you're a beginner or a veteran, about managing villagers and their moods in Medieval Dynasty. Starting from the beginning, we have newcomers, which are recruitable villagers who sit around campfires inside or outside of town, looking for a place to call home. If you approach one of these newcomers and press left alt or left bumper on console, this opens up inspect mode, which can be used to see the skill levels of your potential villagers. Each of these skills represents their efficiency in performing certain jobs. In order, the symbols are extraction, hunting, farming, diplomacy, survival, and production. Newcomer skills all range from 1 to 3, and the higher the number, the more proficient they are in doing that task. When you want to recruit a newcomer, all you have to do is talk to them, and there should be a dialogue option to invite them to your settlement. There is no limit to how many villagers you can have, but the amount of villagers you can recruit depends on your dynasty reputation, which can be increased by completing quests, herald challenges, and fighting bandits. While you don't need to do these things before recruiting villagers, I highly recommend you have a house built and ready before you bring a villager into your settlement. Living in a house is required to keep your villager content, and without it, they will not be able to obtain food, water, or firewood. Without a house to live in, their mood will steadily decrease, and once their mood reaches negative 100%, they will leave your village. The size of the house you build has no direct effect on this, so any house aside from your own will work. If you go to the management tab, you can select a house, then select the villager you would like to live in that house. Once you have a house ready, you can place food, drinks, or firewood in the house chest, and your villagers will consume the resources as they need them. Any food or drinks will work, but as an early recommendation, hunting and roasting meat, or fishing and roasting the fish meat are great ways to get easy food early. As for drinks, you can fill buckets or water skins from natural water sources or wells. Firewood can be crafted into woodshed using logs, and will be used by villagers if you place them in your house chest or the resource storage. If you run out of firewood, your villagers will start taking sticks, logs, and eventually planks, so be sure to keep your resource storage stocked up with as much firewood as you need. I should also note that if you want to prevent your villagers from using sticks, logs, or planks as firewood, there's a setting in the management menu called the People's Demand Control tab, where you can disable villager consumption on specific types of wood, food, and drinks. Generally, I like to disable sticks, logs, and planks, but if you're worried about not having enough firewood, maybe just disable the logs. Once you have a lot more villagers and houses, filling everyone's house with food, water, and firewood is going to start to get tedious, which is why I recommend you build a resource storage and a food storage. Any foods or drinks placed in the food storage, or any firewood placed in the resource storage can be consumed by the villagers as they need it, so the sooner you get these buildings, the easier it'll be to manage more villagers at a time. Once your villager has a house and all the resources they need, it's time to set them up in a workplace. Any workplace is good, but if you're just starting out, I recommend you build a woodshed first and have a newcomer with preferably 3 in extraction working there. In the management tab or through the sign on the outside of the workplace, choose the villager you want to work, click assign to workplace, and choose the workplace you would like them to work in. If you're not sure which skill goes to which job, the building selection tab will show you a skill column letting you know which skill is required for each workplace. Once assigned to a workplace, you can have them start obtaining resources or creating items for your village. Using a woodshed as an example, you can select the resources you want your villager to gather, but let's just select all of them. To have villagers generate these resources, turn up the work intensity, and the number on the right will show you how many resources or goods per day the building will generate. Some items like sticks can be gathered and don't require any tools, but to gather logs, you're going to need to provide your villagers axes. To give your villagers access to using tools, you will need to place them in either the workplace storage chest or the resource storage similar to the firewood. If your villagers are missing tools or resources, an anvil symbol will pop up in the top left corner of the screen. To find out what your villager needs or is missing, go to the building tab in management, find the workplace that's missing resources, and the red symbol in the workplace menu will tell you exactly what's missing. If you want some early game workplace recommendations, I suggest having a villager in the woodshed to obtain logs and sticks, a villager in the excavation shed obtaining stones and limestone, and a villager in the hunting lodge obtaining meat and leather. Now before we talk about villager mood, don't forget to pay the king's tax of 1 like or 1 sub. Really helps the channel out and I appreciate the support. Alright, let's talk about managing villager mood. Once you have a villager working, the next step is to increase their mood. At the highest level, a villager with 100% mood will generate 20% more resources, repair 20% faster, and trade 20% more. As the villagers level up their skills more, this 20% begins to add up, so let's talk about everything you can do to increase your villager's mood. First would be house type. Wattle and log houses, while easier to build, won't make the villagers as happy as living in a stone house, but you can still increase the villagers' happiness in them by insulating them with daub, which is made by using clay and straw in the barn. Insulated stone houses, on the other hand, will make villagers the happiest, but are going to take a lot more resources to build. When it's time to insulate, the option to insulate your walls will be in your select build mode options when holding a hammer. Stone houses take stones and planks to make, and limestone to insulate, which can be mined through the stone nodes generated by villagers in the extraction shed or bought by mining vendors. After insulation, you have decorations. Decorations or changes to the house will increase villager mood up to a max of 10%, so this includes adding wall decorations, rugs, himilies, paints, etc. Pretty much anything but the doors, beds, chests, or fireplaces. Also, you might need upwards of 20 decorations on the inside or outside of the house to get this full 10%. Next, we have skill level. Remember how each villager has a number associated to their skills? Well, your villager's mood will be raised by 2% for every skill associated to the workplace they're assigned to, up to a max of 20%. Villager skill level will increase as they continue to work in the profession that utilizes their skill, so just be patient and they will get better over time. Also, if you look up the details of the villager, you can actually see how close they are to leveling up their skills. Another big factor to your villager's mood is the village's relationship with the king. Now, there's a random chance each season that a herald, which is indicated by a flag or a trumpet icon on your compass, will show up in a tavern on the map, and you will have the opportunity to accept the challenge given by the herald, which will in turn lower your taxes and help you unlock fast travel and crest customization for your village. You can check your map tab to determine whether your king is good, bad, or neutral. If you're not sure which kings are considered good, bad, or neutral, I'll pin a comment with all the alignments in the comment section below. Now, depending on whether your king's alignment is good or bad, will determine whether your villager's mood will go up when completing a herald's challenge. Completing the king's challenges will lower your taxes, but if you accept and fail the challenge, it will increase your taxes regardless of the alignment. Mood-wise though, if you complete a good aligned king's challenge, villager mood will increase, but completing a bad aligned king's challenge will reduce villager mood. If the king is neutral, completing or failing challenges won't affect villager mood whatsoever. If you complete 2 herald challenges on the herald's 3rd arrival, you can pay him 10,000 coins for a village sign, which will allow you to use fast travel from wagoners to your village. So even if you have a bad king, I would still complete challenges for the sign. The next factor is family. Villagers that are married will have an increased mood of 10%, and each child increases their mood further by 5%. To have your villagers get married, you'll have to pair a male and a female villager in the same house, which will eventually lead them to getting married, and your female villager getting pregnant. So as long as the age gap with your villagers is between 20 years, or 10 years preferably, the faster they'll get married and have kids. If you want them to get started quick, make sure they're close to the same age. Once pregnant, there will be a green pregnant icon displayed next to their name in the management tab, which will last for 3 seasons before the baby is born. Once your villager's had her baby, her profession will change to mother and she will be unable to work for 2 years, which could be a problem if your villager is highly skilled. If you don't want your villagers getting pregnant, I would advise making a small house for each villager you invite into your village. If you don't want to make a house for each villager but don't want your villagers to get married and pregnant, another trick is to kick your villagers out of the house right before the season changes and add them back after the season transitions. Events are pretty much the last way villager mood can change, but for the most part these are random and can't be controlled. If you focus on all the other factors in this list, getting villagers to 100 mood should not be a problem at all. Lastly about villagers, I wanted to mention special villagers, which work the same as villagers, but can be found with much higher level skills than newcomers. To get special villagers in the valley, just complete your wife quests, and most of them will end up leading you to higher level villagers who can be recruited. There is one special villager that can be recruited by doing a quest for your son, but that won't be until your heir is a teenager. When it comes to the oxbow though, special villagers randomly spawn around the map every season and it must be found or saved in order to be recruited. If you want to see all the locations for these special villagers, check out the video on the screen right here. But if you follow the steps in this video, you should have a lot easier time managing your villagers. But until next time, thanks for watching and take care.